Hello everybody. Not 100% sure what I want to talk about today. Mostly I want to make sure I talk about how I feel. That's the priority, to keep coming back to how I feel. And then the topic I want to start off on is, these days, really feel like I'm on an adventure. And it's bringing a lot of feelings with it. The first few that I see are joy and excitement, gratitude, overwhelm. And then around those feelings are fear, anxiety, a sense of confusion or not knowing 100% what's going on or what I'm doing. Not sure what the word for that is. Like out of my depth, or humbled? Maybe humbled. So let's start there. So what do I mean by being on an adventure? Many of you may have noticed or kind of feel like it's a familiar topic with me. But I've been really trying to embrace this idea of freedom. Like real freedom, and not just the freedom to do anything. It's not a random freedom. It's connected to another value that I have, which is authenticity, or my own inner truth. And where those two things connect is that I'm trying to embrace the freedom to be whoever I feel I really am, and go for whatever I feel I really want, and do whatever I feel is really in me to do, and feeling free to do that, and claiming my freedom to feel and be and do whatever is true for me. It's been going on for a while. It's been a couple of years, maybe even a couple of decades, trying to figure that out, to follow my truth wherever it leads me. And interestingly, it's led me to encountering maybe greater truths, or things that are bigger than me, that call me in certain directions that I wasn't expecting. And it's part of my truth to follow such callings that feel the callings that feel mysterious but right, that feel benevolent, even if I can't fully get my head around them. So this freedom to live my truth has taken me on an adventure, and what I notice about that adventure is how right it feels, even when it's painful, even when it hurts, even when it's just unpleasant. When it's in the name of being aligned with my own truth, including following something greater than me, surrendering to that, then it feels right. And it's brought loads of weird things, loads of weird experiences, spiritual experiences. And mostly what I notice is it's brought an abundance of connection with others. So much depth and intensity has come into my relationship with others. And I'm pretty sure that's where the biggest, or maybe at least a big chunk of this adventure is. That when I commit to being free to be who I really am, deep down, allowing myself to expand into that and experiment in becoming that, my relationships flourish. Not necessarily in pleasant ways. It's not all joy and roses. Some of it can be painful. Some of it can be confusing, and hurtful and triggering and upsetting for me and or others. This freedom, this truth, this depth and intensity that's come into my relationships can bring up a lot of shit for me and for others. And it's like the adventurer me striding far from his village and familiar territory, even far from the landscapes and weather I'm used to, and maybe encountering a new terrain, a new landscape that I've never seen before, and I don't know how to cross it well yet. As if I've lived in a desert, a flat desert, maybe, for most of my life, and I've wandered off and decided to see what else is out there, and then I bump into a mountain for the first time, and I know I need to travel across it, or even over it and beyond it. And I've never walked over a mountain before. So I stumble. I make mistakes. And even when I make mistakes, I'm still new, so I might make the same mistake multiple times because I don't know the answer yet to this terrain. Sometimes you have to face your incompetence, and you are humbled, sometimes even humiliated by that naivety, by that skilllessness. And that's part of the adventure. It's part of the risk of entering new territory. And that's me and the pain that I have to face. And then I've noticed that others can be triggered or moved or touched by me. Many people in a good way. For example, people say things like they really appreciate my presence, the depth or the intensity of my presence, the welcome and the invitation for them to live their truth as deeply and as radically as they can. And they like that invitation, they like that welcome and freedom when they're with me, that they can be whoever they are. And I've also encountered others who have different reactions. Caution, fear, jealousy, resentment, envy, anger. And it's difficult for me to experience those responses. It brings up stuff for me when I upset others, either through no fault of my own or through stumbling over the mountain clumsily. A friend of mine said similar yesterday about how painful it is to feel, to know that we've upset someone and hurt someone. And how that can bring up all these reactions. Which brings me to guilt. And maybe 2020 to 2021 was me exploring the feeling of disappointment and how I felt like that was overlooked in psychotherapy. The potency and the power of disappointment and how we'd do almost anything to avoid it. And I've done videos on that before. If you want to watch them, then let me know in the comments. But maybe now I'm interested in guilt. I'm interested in how guilt works along this adventure, and how much more it's happening now. For me. And the first thing that stands out with guilt are all the things I do to try not to feel it. Examples. Saying sorry. Seems obvious. But sometimes we apologize because we don't want to feel guilty. Not because we feel like we've done anything wrong. Sometimes we apologize because we are sorry that we've hurt someone, and yet we're not sure if we've done anything wrong yet. We just apologize to make it go away. That's one. The other one is explaining and giving reasons, which rightly or wrongly can often be interpreted as excuses, but whether they're excuses or not, we still try and explain ourselves and give reasons for why we did what we did, because that helps us feel less guilty. Sometimes we counterattack. But you did something wrong too. If I'm bad, you're bad. Or if you're not bad, then I'm not bad. Because you do wrong things as well. If you're forgivable, I'm forgivable. We counterattack. We often call it fairness or justice. And again, we're doing that to make the guilt go away. And what happens if we just stay with the feeling of guilt? We don't have to feel like we've done anything wrong. We don't have to say sorry. We don't have to feel like we haven't done anything wrong. We don't have to excuse ourselves. We don't have to counterattack. We can just take someone's hurt and or their accusations and feel the guilt that comes up. And that's it. We just feel guilty. For me, that can involve a sensation of burning. Usually starts in my hands, as if flames are beginning to lick my fingers, and I feel a shaking in my hands, and I want to get my hands away from the flames, but I can't, as if they're tied down, as if I'm tied to something, and flames are rising, and I'm going to burn. And I feel as if everyone will turn against me, especially those that I love and who love me. And that I'll be persecuted. And this is a key moment on my adventure, where I fall into a pit of guilt, shame, fear, terror, panic, pain. And it's very important for me, and maybe a few others of you out there, to stay with that feeling, to allow it, to cry it out, to shake it into our system, to experience it as wholly and as fully as possible. And even now I can feel the excuses, the attempts to ease the pain. One of them is, but we're only human. We're all human. You're human, John. You're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. And it's true. And it's trying to get rid of the feeling of guilt. The reality is, I feel guilty. I don't know if I'm right or wrong. I don't know if I've done bad or not. I don't know how reasonable or proportional my guilt is. And I feel guilty. I feel guilty for doing things and having things. It's a tension in my body. A fear that everyone might turn against me at any minute. Which is probably the deeper thing, for me at least, beneath the guilt that makes me panic. It's not the guilt itself, it's the fear of attack, of persecution, of violent retribution, or excommunication. To be kicked out by a loved one, or loved ones, or an entire village. To be socially or literally murdered because of who I really am. Not even because of a role I've done wrong, or a job I didn't get right, a task I fucked up. Just because of who I am. Because of my truth. That's much worse. To be attacked because I'm living my truth. What does that mean? That's scary. So along this adventure of being free to be who I am, I'm going to encounter people who don't fucking like it. And I'm going to stumble and make mistakes and hurt people. Because this is all new. And to the people who don't like it, and the people I hurt, either accidentally or even just because of how they see me, I'm going to feel guilty. For now, at least. And in that guilt is a fear that who I really am may hurt others. And out of that, there may come attack. Which is true. I think a part of me might be naive in thinking, if only I live true to myself, everything will be fine. Perhaps not. Perhaps part of this journey is learning to deal with how triggering it can be to encounter someone living their truth. And how tricky it can be to live your truth and to live it skillfully. How impossible it might be to live your truth without fucking up. More than you would if you just ride the script and live according to the standard rules. Because at least then, if you're living by script and rules and expectations, you have a map. You lose who you really are, but you have a map. Yeah, so there's some feelings, and especially the feeling of guilt. That's my learning process right now, is to familiarize myself with guilt, to get to know it, how it feels, to stop avoiding it, to really feel it. Maybe even be at home with it. I am messy. I am often lost. And I am on an adventure. I do not wish to turn around and go home. I don't wish to go back to the familiarity of the village in order to avoid this issue, this topic. I want to continue to walk on. Whatever that may mean. Because I have no idea what's over this horizon. No idea what monsters or witches or magical creatures may await. We'll see. That's it for today. Hope there's something in that for you.